introduced before, I'm just going to repeat. Victoria uses she and her pronouns and will be giving Black women saved me too. Trigger warnings include racism and sexism. Don't forget about the LBC credit in the back and to sign the sign-in sheet in the back if you need to. Thank you, and have fun. Good luck.
Well, first, I would like to say thank you all for coming. I'm very excited. Also, Laurent is the GOAT and put me last, so I'm going to go over. It's fine, though. But yeah, anyways, so this is Black Women Save Me. So a little intro about who I am and why I'm standing here and all of the things that brought me to this moment in space and time and right before you. When I was 9 years old, I was flipping through channels and came across this show where almost every single character was a Black woman. I didn't understand what was happening, but I was mystified. I continued watching, and I saw things that my 9-year-old eyes probably shouldn't have seen, but I loved it and I needed it because to see myself on screen was magical. The show showed Black women all living together in this apartment complex, and they were sex workers, and they were mothers, and they were all of these things that I've never seen outside of the home that I lived in, outside of the community that I lived in. And some of these Black women were queer. And so that was so strange to me because as a 9-year-old, being gay was not something that myself as a Black woman could ever be. And I did not see any queer Black women. What did that mean to be Black and to be queer? And the show is called The Women of Brewster's Place. And so this changed my life. It opened my eyes at only 9 years old to see something, to see myself repeated over and over and over again, to see women who looked like me, women who spoke like me, and it mystified me. So for me, Black women in this show told me something very important, that we as Black women are fully realized people, and that we are beautiful and intelligent and strong and vulnerable, and some of us are queer. So in my kind of search to figure out what my queerness meant, and this didn't happen until much later, but I never forgot this movie. In my search to understand what my queerness meant, I realized something, that the ways in which I was learning about my queerness, the conversations that I was engaging with, both in the virtual and material world, used my Blackness as a caveat and not a constant. It wasn't until I found people that looked like me did I understand what my queerness meant in conjunction with my Blackness. My faculty as a Black queer woman came from other Black queer women. They knew intimately of the struggles I had. They captured so perfectly and succinctly my experience of being Black and woman and queer, and now proud. So I'd like to show and share with you a couple of those people, but also Black women in general being amazing and wonderful and generally changing and shaping my life. Wow, I'm gonna cry. Okay, wow, this is. Black women had always been my teachers, but now Black women have become something so much more to me. They taught me to decolonize the ways I view knowledge production. Although I didn't learn womanism in the classroom, and that is the idea that Black women's feminism need not be called Black feminism because womanism was created for Black women. My Blackness was not a caveat, an adjective. My Blackness was a part of the movement itself. So I didn't learn my womanism in a classroom, but my knowledge of self came through the academy, which meant it was steeped in inaccessible language and reference. While academia and its language could definitely be useful, it wasn't enough. And after all, it is a tool of white supremacy, and Audrey told us that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. My ability to string together soliloquy does not make me any more qualified to testify about social inequity than the roundaway girls down the block just because I use $7 synonyms. Black women taught me to decolonize every inch of my being, from my words to my thoughts to the way I wear my hair. And for this reason, I began to learn from all of the Black women. I began to learn that all Black women were valuable and had things to teach me. So now I love all Black women. So Alice Walker is the person who coined the term womanism, and she gave me so much. I read everything that I could get my hands on that was by Alice Walker. She fundamentally shaped the way I see myself, the way I live my life, and the way I interact with others. Assata Shakur taught me that no one is going to give me the education I need to overthrow them. And no one is going to teach me my true history, so I have to teach myself. I have to teach myself about my heroes, and I have to know that from that knowledge, I will be set free. Angela Davis taught me that radical simply means grasping things at the root. I am often called radical, and not in a positive way, but in an insulting way, in a way that is meant to strangle me. But I remember this, and I remember that the ways in which I need to root out the things of evil in my life are from the root, unless they will grow back. Michelle Alexander taught me about the prison industrial complex, which meant that slavery still exists, it's government funded, and is now self-sustaining. Dorothy Roberts explained to me eugenics, forced birth control, and sterilization. She taught me that the world contains our bodies as Black women, even before we are fully formed. I learned more from Dorothy Roberts than I ever learned in any science class I'd ever taken. Oprah taught me that failure is a great teacher, and if you are open to it, every mistake has a lesson to offer. I often think about this. In all of the things that I've ever done in my life, I've always been really, really difficult on myself. But to remember that the next time I won't do it this way, to remember that I will grow and that I will be better, is something that I keep with me. Bell Hooks, I love Bell Hooks with all of my heart. And this quote always really gets me. I will not have my life narrowed down. I will not bow down to someone else's whim or someone else's ignorance. This is something that I've had to repeat to myself multiple times, not just in my Blackness, but in my queerness and in my womanness, and the audacity of me to be all of those things at once. Maya Angelou is a poet and a writer, and in my heart, my godmother. Maya delivered so much into my life. She taught me the power of words, and for her, I am a writer and I am a poet. She also taught me one of the most important lessons of my life, which is when people show you who they are, believe them. Zora Neale Hurston, a writer, she gave me Jamie. She gave me Their Eyes Were Watching God, and being in that 8th grade class and reading about Jamie for the first time fundamentally shook my foundation. It changed the way I would read literature for the rest of my life. Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison said, "You want to fly? You gotta give that. Oh God. You want to fly? You gotta give up the shit that weighs you down." So every day I think about giving up the shit that weighs me down, because simply put, you have to give up things that prevent you from living and realizing your full self. Kimberly Williams Crenshaw taught me about intersectionality, that I am allowed to be all of the things at once, and that I don't have to give up any of them for anyone, even myself. Shirley Chisholm icon that I feel like we don't remember enough. I feel like we don't praise her enough, because Shirley Chisholm, to be quite honest, is an amazing Black woman who stood up in the face of oppression years and years before the Michelle Obamas and before the Melissa Harris Perrys and before the Soledad O'Briens. Shirley Chisholm is someone that I feel like we don't remember enough. Ooh, wow, okay. Betsy Shabazz said, "We can say peace on earth, we can sing about it, preach about it, or pray about it. But if we have not internalized the mythology to make it happen inside of us, then it will not be." And to me, Betty is telling me to be about it, right? But she's telling me to be about it in the same vein that Diamond and Princess from Primark are telling me to be about it. Tonight is Ava, right? And so for me, it is not just looking at women who society praises because of their intellect, because of their social standing. I learned my feminism, I learned my womanism, I love to learn myself, my Blackness, my womanness, my queerness from every Black woman. Althea Gibson said, "I did not get anywhere by myself. No matter what I accomplished, no matter what you made, someone helped you." And for me, this is something that I think about quite honestly every day. And so I thank those who take the time to tell me when I'm being problematic, who take the time to help me, who take the time to heal me and guide me and show me the path. And for that reason, I do that to others. I make sure that I continue this cyclical healing process as much as possible. Warsan Shire, who is a poet who lives inside of my heart, someone who writes her words with such purity and so much candor that her 2 or 3 line poetry sticks with me for days at a time. She said, "Haven't they already told you not to make homes out of human beings?" Let that sit with you though. What? Do not make homes out of human beings. I was shook. Nina Simone, in all of her glory and greatness and dark-skinned beauty, let us know that mental health is something that Black people struggle with too. And she was so open about this and so visible. And this changed the way that I saw myself as a depressed person, as an anxious person, as someone who has to medicate. Susie Carmichael was the first time that I saw another little Black girl on TV whose hair looked like mine, but also another Black girl on TV who was nice and kind and played, and she listened to her parents, because who was Angelica? I didn't understand that. That would never happen in my household, right? But also, my Cinderella has boxed braids and wears blue eyeshadow. No one can tell me anything different, okay? And so Brandy, for so many reasons and everything that she's ever done, I love Brandy. I still love her. I stand for her and I will always stand for her. Because to be a child and to see the most famous princess of all time have the same hairstyle as you is a thing to behold. Moesha was the first and only teen drama I was allowed to watch in my home, because the ways in which Moesha conducted herself, how she walked through the world, was familiar not only to me but to my parents. It was familiar to the ways in which we talked about things in my house. I will always love Whitney Gilbert. I will always watch A Different World and my heart will soar, because Whitney Gilbert taught me that your growth is not dependent on where you come from, and that you have the capability to be anything that you want to be, despite what anyone is telling you. But also, that even if you get the guy and he's not thought you would end up with, that is not enough to be grateful that you have him. Because if he's playing games, or if anyone is playing games, leave. Because you set a standard and if they can't hang, goodbye. Issa Rae fundamentally changed the way I viewed media. To be in high school and to watch people who acted like me but didn't look like me, that was so difficult. And to watch things with people who looked like me but didn't act like me, I didn't know how to resolve that cognitive dissonance. But to type in to youtube.com, Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl, and see a black woman who is walking in the hallway and stumbling and tripping and being awkward, and she's rapping in the bathroom to herself, as I often do, that was magic. Lizzo. Lizzo is a recording artist. She is also my mom. I love her, but Lizzo is a fat black woman who owns her body, who stands in a room performing in front of hundreds of people, fully herself, and commands a presence and does not apologize for it. Lizzo taught me about making sure that you can be sexual without being sexualized. And I couldn't conceive that my fat body could do that until her. Salt and pepper. To have 3 black women who are wearing what they want to wear, who are talking about what they want to talk about, was amazing. If you ever get a chance, please listen to None of Your Business, because that song, even at a very young age, changed me, right? So listening to the cassette tapes that my mom had of Salt and Pepper, right? That changed me. Lil' Kim was the first time that I saw a black girl have green hair, blue hair, red hair, yellow hair, and I didn't understand what was happening because I didn't think those things were for me. Because I'd always been told that because of my skin tone, there are certain colors I shouldn't wear. Lil' Kim wore the rainbow. Cardi B. So Cardi B does not apologize for any part of herself. And Cardi B taught me how prevalent classism is when we think about who we should and shouldn't listen to. And for her, I will forever check myself. Missy Elliott was the first person I ever heard the words body positivity come out of. I didn't understand what that concept was, but here she was completely embodying it. Missy Elliott rapped about being sex positive, but also about being positive towards sex workers. I didn't understand that until much later, but for her, I'm thankful to be able to see a fat, dark-skinned black woman taking over the charts and people being dazzled by her. And finally, I have Solange, who wrote the album of my life. Every song on A Seat at the Table is not only a bop, but also something that is a facet of my life that I didn't quite know how to explain to other people. And to be able to press play and sit and listen to all of those songs and see myself in every single verse and to feel every hook is amazing. From the title, A Seat at the Table, which means the table that we're talking about is power, is access. And to have a seat at that table means that you finally have access to something that everyone else got to walk in and sit down, but you had to carry your own chair. But to have that seat at the table, to have a voice, to be powerful, to be heard, that concept is amazing. And so, from all of these black women, I learned about the power I had in myself. I learned about the power that my 5-year-old niece has in herself. And so when I went home this summer and we're talking, and she says, TT, because she's a child and they make nicknames that don't make sense. She says, TT, shake her. And so I grab her and I hug her instead. And we began to say a mantra that we've now said almost every single day for 6 months, which is, I am a beautiful little black girl. I love my skin, I love my hair, I love my family, and I love me. So in conclusion, Black girls are magic. Black women taught me that I could conjure my own happiness, and that my exceptionality may be lonely, but I do not have to count on other people for my happiness, for my worth, and for my value. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am the culmination of centuries of knowledge. I am blood of Angela, Asada, Tony, Zora, and Belle, Tracy Chapman, and Nina Simone. Forever will sing my lullabies, soothing me into self-acceptance and loving myself in all my forms. Any questions? Yes.
Not a question, but your shirt is legit as fuck.
Hi.
It's more of a comment. Speaking as like a white man and understanding that my position is not that of a black woman and never could be. But I just want to say that your love and dedication and passion and also vulnerability shown through in your speaking. I'm very grateful that you came here and did that. So thank you.
Yeah, but you don't want. Oh, yes.
You're really fucking pretty.
Oh my God! Thank you. Wow, thank you. I'm dying. Well, if you don't walk away with anything else, walk away knowing those black girls are